My hands trembled as I stared at the lottery ticket for the 15th time that morning. $26 million. After taxes, I'd still walk away with enough money to change not just my life, but my entire family's future forever. At 24, I'd been working 2 jobs just to help Mom with the rent on our cramped apartment, watching my little sister Patty struggle through community college because we couldn't afford better. Hey there, wonderful people. Take a moment to subscribe, drop a hi, and tell us where you're joining from. Ready? Let's continue with today's story. Shayla, what's got you looking like you seen a ghost? Mom asked, shuffling into the kitchen in her worn slippers. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of another double shift at the hospital where she worked housekeeping. I held up the ticket, my voice barely a whisper. Mama, I think I won the lottery. She laughed, that tired laugh she'd perfected over years of disappointment. Baby, don't go getting your hopes up over some. The words died in her throat as she grabbed the ticket, comparing the numbers to her phone screen. Her eyes widened, then filled with tears. Sweet Jesus, she whispered, clutching her chest. Shayla, baby, this is real. The next few hours blurred together. Lawyers, financial advisors, media interviews. Everyone had an opinion about what I should do with the money. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do. My family had sacrificed everything for me. Mom worked herself to the bone, my older brother Roderick had dropped out of college to help support us, and my sister Patty was drowning in student debt. I was going to give them everything they deserved. After all, what's money compared to family? I'd learned that lesson well growing up with nothing but each other. The irony of that belief would nearly cost me my life. The bank manager's office felt suffocating as I signed the papers. After taxes and setting aside enough for a modest life, I was distributing $20 million among my family members. $5 million each to Mom, Roderick, Patty, and my cousin Randy, who'd been like a brother to me. You sure about this, Miss Ramirez? Mr. Patterson, my financial advisor, adjusted his glasses nervously. Most lottery winners who give away large sums to family members find themselves. Well, let's just say family dynamics can change drastically. I waved off his concern. These people raised me, sacrificed for me. Without them, I wouldn't even have had the dollar to buy that ticket. I signed the final document with a flourish. Besides, I've seen what money does to people. I want to stay humble, stay grounded. The media ate it up. Local news, national networks, even some international outlets picked up the story of the young woman who gave away her fortune to keep her family together. Lottery winner chooses love over luxury, read one headline. I did interview after interview explaining my reasoning. Money changes people, I told the CNN reporter sitting in our small living room. But love is constant. My family will always be my family, rich or poor. Mom cried during every interview, calling me her angel baby. Roderick quit his job at the warehouse immediately, talking about opening his own business. Patty transferred to a 4-year university, finally able to pursue her dream of becoming a pediatrician. Randy bought a house in the suburbs, something he'd talked about since we were kids. For exactly 3 months, we were the perfect lottery family success story. Then the phone calls started. Not the congratulatory ones, but the demanding ones. The entitled ones. The ones that made my stomach drop and my hands shake, just like they had when I first saw those winning numbers. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday morning. I was making coffee in my small apartment. I'd kept the same place despite everyone's insistence I should upgrade, when Roderick called. Shayla, I need another 100,000. His voice had an edge to it I'd never heard before. Gone was the grateful brother who'd hugged me and cried when I handed him that check. Another 100,000? Roderick, what happened to the 5 million? Investments, business expenses, you wouldn't understand. The point is, I need it. Today. My stomach twisted. I don't have it, Roderick. I kept just enough to live modestly, remember? That was the whole point. Don't play games with me, Shayla. The coldness in his voice made me pull the phone away from my ear. We both know you kept more than you're letting on. Stop being selfish and help your family. Selfish. The word hit me like a physical blow. I'd given away $20 million and somehow I was selfish? The call with Patty later that day was worse. Everyone at school thinks I'm rich now because of the news coverage, she whined. I need at least $50,000 for a car and some decent clothes. I look like a fool driving Mom's old Honda. Patty, you have $5 million. Buy your own car. I can't touch that money, she snapped. That's for my future, for medical school. This is different. This is about family dignity. When Mom called that evening, I thought surely she'd be the voice of reason. Instead, she launched into a speech about how I'd made the family look bad by keeping money while they struggled with managing their new circumstances. Randy's wife is asking questions, she said, her voice strained. Wondering why her husband's family is being stingy when everyone knows we won millions. And Roderick's business partners think he's holding out on them. Mom, I gave everyone exactly what we agreed on. We agreed you'd take care of your family, Shayla. Completely. Not halfway. As I hung up the phone, I stared at my reflection in the dark window. The woman looking back at me seemed like a stranger. 3 months ago, I'd been their hero. Now, apparently, I was their biggest disappointment. The harassment escalated quickly. My phone rang constantly. Randy demanding money for his kids' private school, Roderick insisting he needed funding for a second business venture, Patty crying about how embarrassed she was by her cheap lifestyle. Even distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years started showing up at my door. Shayla, baby, it's your Aunt Linda, came through my apartment intercom one evening. I hadn't seen Aunt Linda since I was 12. I know you're home. We need to talk about Uncle Ray's medical bills. I stopped answering my phone. I installed a security system. I changed my number twice. Nothing worked. They always found me. The breaking point came when I arrived home from work. Yes, I still kept my job at the local nonprofit, to find Roderick in my apartment. How did you get in here? I demanded, my heart racing. He held up a key, smirking. I had a copy made months ago. We're family, Shayla. Family doesn't lock family out. You can't just come into my home uninvited. You're home. Roderick laughed bitterly. See, that's your problem right there. You think anything is really yours when your family is struggling. You think you can just hoard money while we're out here looking foolish. I grabbed my phone. Roderick, you need to leave. Now. Or what? You'll call the cops on your own brother. He stepped closer, and for the first time in my life I felt afraid of him. Let me explain something to you, little sister. When you went on TV and made us all look like charity cases, you made a commitment. That commitment doesn't end just because you're having second thoughts. I gave you $5 million. And we gave you a lifetime of family, he shot back. Seems like we're still owed quite a bit. After he left, I sat on my couch shaking. This wasn't my family anymore. These weren't the people who'd raised me, supported me, loved me. The money hadn't just changed their bank accounts, it had poisoned their souls. But I had no idea how much poison was still to come. Sleep became impossible. Every creak in my apartment building made me jump. Every unexpected knock sent my heart racing. The family I'd loved and trusted now felt like strangers. Dangerous strangers who seemed to believe they owned me. The text messages started coming at all hours. Roderick, stop hiding from your responsibilities. Randy, family means everything or nothing. Choose wisely. Even Patty, you're being really selfish and it's making Mom sick with worry. But it was Mom's message that broke my heart completely. I raised you better than this, Shayla. Your greed is tearing this family apart. My greed. $20 million given away freely, and somehow I was greedy. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of messages, recordings of voicemails, photos of them showing up uninvited. My friend Denise, who worked in legal aid, suggested I might need a restraining order. This isn't normal family drama, Shayla, she said over coffee, her expression serious. This is harassment, possibly extortion. Rich families deal with this kind of thing all the time, but they have security teams and lawyers. They're my family, I protested weakly. Were they acting like family when Roderick broke into your apartment? That evening, I made a decision that felt like cutting off a limb. I changed my phone number one final time and didn't give it to any of them. I hired a security company to change my locks and install cameras. I even considered moving to another state. For 2 weeks, blessed silence. I started sleeping again, eating regular meals, remembering what peace felt like. Then I came home to find my apartment ransacked. Nothing was stolen. They'd obviously been looking for something specific. Bank statements, maybe, or evidence of hidden accounts. My laptop was gone along with all my financial documents. Someone had gone through every drawer, every closet, even inside my refrigerator. On my coffee table sat a single note in Roderick's handwriting. We know you're hiding money. Stop playing games. I called the police, but what could I tell them? That my own family was terrorizing me because I wouldn't give them more of the lottery money I'd already shared? The officer was sympathetic but essentially useless. Family disputes are tricky, he said, looking around my destroyed apartment. Without proof of who did this. I knew who did this. The question was, how far were they willing to go? 3 days after the break-in, I was walking to my car after work when a black sedan pulled up beside me. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see inside, but when the passenger window rolled down, my blood turned to ice. "Get in," Randy said quietly. "We need to talk." "I'm not getting in that car, Randy." "Shayla." His voice was calm, almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Get in the car. Please." Against every instinct screaming in my head, I got in. Randy was in the passenger seat. I didn't recognize the driver, a thin man with cold eyes who didn't speak. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Nowhere special. Just driving around so we can have a conversation without interruptions." Randy turned to face me and I saw a stranger wearing my cousin's face. "You've been avoiding the family. You broke into my apartment." "Nobody broke into anything. You gave Roderick a key, remember? Family keys." "I never gave him permission to." "Shayla." The sharpness in his voice cut me off. "Let me be very clear about something. This family took care of you your whole life. Fed you, clothed you, supported your dreams. And when good fortune came your way, fortune that came from a ticket bought with money we helped you earn, you decided to play games. I gave everyone millions of dollars. You gave us scraps. Kept the real money for yourself and then went on TV to make yourself look generous while making us look like beggars." The driver took a turn I didn't recognize, heading toward the industrial part of town. My heart started racing. "Randy, I want to get out." "You'll get out when we're finished talking." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through what looked like bank statements. "See, we did some investigating. Found out about some accounts you thought you hid pretty well. I had no hidden accounts. Every penny was documented, every dollar accounted for." But the certainty in his voice made my stomach drop. "There are no hidden accounts, Randy. I gave you everything I said I would. Lying to family is a sin, Shayla. And sins have consequences." The car finally stopped in an empty parking lot behind an abandoned warehouse. I reached for the door handle but it wouldn't budge. Child safety locks. "Let me out. Now." Randy nodded to the driver, who finally spoke. "She understands the situation now? I think she's starting to." "Please," I whispered, my hands shaking as I tried the door handle again. "Randy, whatever you think I've done." "I don't think anything, cousin. I know." He turned fully toward me and in the dim light from the street lamp his eyes looked dead. "You see, when you humiliated us on national television, pretending to be some generous saint while keeping the real fortune for yourself, you made enemies. Not just of us, but of some very important people who invested their reputation in our family." The driver, a man I now realized wasn't just any random person, reached into his jacket. My heart nearly stopped until I saw it was just a manila folder. "Roderick's business partners aren't very understanding about being misled," the driver said, his voice flat and professional. "When they invested based on his assurance of unlimited family funding, they expected results. I don't understand. Roderick told some very dangerous people that his lottery-winning sister would back any venture, any amount, any time," Randy continued. "He used your generosity story to get into business deals way above his pay grade. Now those people want their money and they're holding Roderick responsible. Which means they're holding the family responsible. Which means they're holding you responsible." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. "You mean?" "I mean Roderick owes $2 million to people who break kneecaps for late payments," Randy said. "Patty used her fame as lottery sister to co-sign on loans she can't possibly repay. Mom took out a mortgage on a house 3 times bigger than she needs because everyone expects the lottery family to live large." "And you?" I asked, though I was afraid to hear the answer. Randy's smile was cold. "I invested the entire $5 million in cryptocurrency based on a tip from someone who said lottery winners always get insider information. Lost everything in a crash last month." The driver handed me the folder. Inside were photographs. Me leaving work, entering my apartment, shopping for groceries. Someone had been following me for weeks. "Here's what's going to happen," Randy continued. "You're going to liquidate whatever accounts you really have. You're going to take out loans against your future lottery payments. You're going to make this right. And if I don't? The driver started the engine. Then this family has a serious problem. And problems get solved one way or another. As we drove back toward my neighborhood, I realized the truth that should have been obvious from the beginning. I hadn't just given my family money. I'd given them a taste of power, status, and wealth they couldn't afford to lose. And they'd kill me before they'd go back to being poor. I lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what my family had become. The cousin who'd taught me to ride a bike was now threatening my life. The brother who'd walked me to school every day had broken into my home. The mother who'd sung me lullabies was calling me selfish for not bankrupting myself to fund their delusions. By morning, I'd made a decision that felt like swallowing glass. I had to find out exactly how far they were willing to go. I called Roderick from a burner phone I'd bought on the way to work. Well, he answered on the first ring. Baby sister finally ready to be reasonable? I want to meet. All of us. Today. Smart girl. Mom's house, 6 o'clock. And Shayla? Bring your checkbook. When I arrived at Mom's new house, a gaudy mansion she'd bought in an upscale neighborhood, I barely recognized the woman who opened the door. Designer clothes, professional makeup, jewelry I knew cost more than most people's cars. There's my successful daughter, she said, but her smile was sharp as a knife. Inside they were all waiting. Roderick in an expensive suit, Patty dripping with jewelry, Randy looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. They'd transformed themselves into the wealthy family they thought they deserved to be, and clearly had no intention of going backward. Okay, I said, setting my purse on the marble coffee table. Let's talk numbers. Exactly how much do you all need? Roderick leaned forward eagerly. For my immediate business obligations, $2.5 million. For future expansion, another $5 million. I need at least $1 million for medical school and living expenses, Patty added. And maybe another $1 million for investment properties. Randy was checking something on his phone. $3 million to get back into the crypto market properly this time. And Mom needs, how much was it, Aunt Ruby? $4 million, Mom said without missing a beat. To pay off the house and set up proper trust funds for my grandchildren. I pulled out a calculator, making a show of adding it up. So you need about $15 million from me. Today. Sounds about right, Roderick said. From someone who you think has been lying and hiding money from you. We know you have it, Patty said firmly. The lifestyle you've been maintaining, the way you've been so calm about everything. Nobody gives away their last dollar. I looked around at their expectant faces and felt something cold settle in my chest. You're absolutely right. I have been hiding something from all of you. They leaned forward like vultures sensing carrion. I've been hiding the fact that I hired a private investigator 6 months ago. The room went dead silent. A private investigator? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I pulled out my phone, opening the folder of evidence I'd been collecting. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the photos? The following? The coordinated harassment. I looked directly at Randy. Or that I wouldn't investigate where my money actually went? Roderick started to stand, but I held up my hand. Sit down, all of you. It's time you heard some truth for once. I pulled out printed documents, spreading them across Mom's expensive coffee table like I was dealing cards. Randy, your cryptocurrency story? Complete lie. You actually invested in a pyramid scheme that you're now running, using my money to recruit other victims. I have bank records. Randy's face went pale. Patty, medical school? You're not even enrolled. You're spending your days shopping and partying with rich friends who think you're some kind of lottery princess. I have photos from your private investigator friend. Yes, I know about him too. Shayla, you don't understand, Patty started. And Roderick. I turned to my brother, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Your business partners. They're not investors. They're loan sharks. You borrowed against money you didn't have, using my lottery story as collateral. And now you owe people who will literally kill you if you don't pay up. The silence in the room was deafening. But here's the really interesting part, I continued, pulling out a USB drive. The private investigator also uncovered something else. Apparently, when traditional pressure didn't work, when breaking into my apartment didn't work, when threatening me in cars didn't work, you all decided to explore alternative solutions. Mom's face went white. Shayla, whatever you think you know. I know that Randy contacted someone about permanent solutions to family problems. I know that Roderick has been asking around about people who handle extreme debt collection. And I know that you, Mom, met with someone last week who specializes in making people disappear. The room exploded into defensive shouting, but I held up the USB drive. Everything's on here. Every conversation, every meeting, every plan. And copies have been sent to the police, the FBI, and every major news outlet that covered my original lottery story. Roderick lunged toward me, but Randy grabbed his arm. She's bluffing. Am I? I stood up, backing toward the door. Randy, tell them about the man you hired. Tell them about the $50,000 you promised him. Tell them about the timeline you gave him for getting me out of the way permanently. Randy's face crumbled. In that moment, I saw a flicker of the cousin I used to know, horrified at what he'd become. We weren't actually going to, he started. Yes, you were. My voice was steady now, calm with the certainty of someone who finally understood the truth. Because I was the only thing standing between you and total financial ruin. And you decided I was worth more to you dead than alive. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. For people I'd loved my entire life, for people I'd trusted with everything, staring at me with expressions ranging from terror to rage to something that might have been shame. Shayla, Mom finally said, her voice breaking, baby, you have to understand. I understand perfectly. I kept my hand on the doorknob, ready to run if needed. I understand that when I gave you millions of dollars, I didn't just change your bank accounts. I changed your entire identity. You stopped being people who were grateful and became people who were entitled. You don't know what it's like, Roderick said, his voice harsh. You don't know the pressure, the expectations. Everyone expects us to live like millionaires now. So you decided to kill your sister instead of living below your means? It wasn't supposed to be real. Patty burst out, tears streaming down her face. Randy said it was just to scare you, to make you realize how serious the situation was. Randy shot her a murderous look. Shut up, Patty. No. She turned to me, desperation in her eyes. Shayla, I swear we were just trying to get your attention. You stopped taking our calls, you moved, you hired security. What were we supposed to do? Try getting jobs, I said quietly. Try living within your means. Try being grateful for $5 million instead of murderous about not getting $50 million. Mom stood up, her designer dress rustling. Those people Roderick owes money to, they're not going to just disappear because you have recordings. They're going to want their money either way. And if they can't get it from him, then that's Roderick's problem. Not mine. He's your brother. Brothers don't hire hitmen to kill their sisters. The words came out louder than I'd intended, echoing in the marble-floored room. Roderick finally spoke, his voice cold and flat. So what happens now? You destroy our lives with your little recordings. I looked around at the opulent room, at the people wearing clothes worth more than most families' annual income, at the faces of people who'd become strangers to me. Our lives were already destroyed, I said. The moment you decided that money was worth more than family. The moment you decided that your embarrassment about being just millionaires instead of billionaires was worth committing murder. I opened the door but turned back one last time. Here's what's going to happen. You're all going to get jobs. You're going to sell these ridiculous houses and cars. You're going to pay back the people you owe even if it takes decades. And you're going to leave me alone. And if we don't? Randy asked. Then the recordings go public and you'll have much bigger problems than debt collectors. As I walked toward my car, I heard Mom calling after me, Shayla, please. We're still family. I didn't turn around. Family doesn't try to kill you for lottery money. Family doesn't choose greed over love. I should have known they wouldn't just accept defeat. 3 days after our confrontation, I was leaving the grocery store when I noticed the same black sedan from before parked across the street. This time I didn't wait to see who was inside. I drove straight to the police station, parked in front of the building, and called Detective Moore, the officer I'd been working with. They're not going to stop, I told him, watching the sedan drive slowly past the police station. The recordings aren't enough. They're desperate now. Miss Ramirez, we've already started investigating based on your evidence. But until someone makes an actual attempt. They did make an attempt. I interrupted. Just because they hired someone else to do it doesn't make it less real. That night, I stayed in a hotel under a fake name. The next morning, I found out why I'd been right to be paranoid. Denise called me, her voice shaking. Shayla, Someone broke into your apartment last night. Tore it apart. The police think they were looking for something specific. Looking for what? The detective said it looked like they were searching for you. I felt the blood drain from my face. They weren't just trying to scare me anymore. They were actively hunting me. Over the next week, I became an expert in survival. I changed hotels every night, paid for everything in cash, avoided my usual routines. But I could feel them getting closer. A familiar face in a restaurant where I stopped for lunch. The same car I'd seen 3 times in different locations. Phone calls to my work asking when I'd be back. The trap came on Friday. I was walking through a parking garage after meeting with my lawyer when I heard footsteps echoing behind me. Not just one set. Multiple sets coordinated, getting closer. I broke into a run. Shayla. Roderick's voice echoed through the concrete structure. Stop running. We just want to talk. But the footsteps behind me said otherwise. These weren't people coming to talk. These were people coming to finish what they'd started. I reached my car, hands shaking as I fumbled with the keys. In the reflection of my car window, I could see 3 figures approaching. Roderick, Randy, and a third man I didn't recognize. The stranger was carrying something in his hand. I got the car started just as they reached me, Randy pounding on the passenger window as I threw the car into reverse. You can't keep running, he shouted as I peeled out of the parking space. This ends today one way or another. As I sped toward the exit, I saw Mom's car blocking the way out. They'd planned this. Coordinated it. My own family had set a trap to corner me in an empty parking garage. With nowhere else to go, I did the only thing I could think of. I called 911 and started live streaming on social media. This is Shayla Ramirez, the lottery winner you might have seen on the news, I said to my phone camera as I maneuvered around Mom's car. My family is trying to kill me for not giving them more money. If something happens to me, the people responsible are in this parking garage right now. It was time the world knew exactly who my family really was. The live stream went viral within hours. #LotteryFamily started trending as thousands of people watched my family chase me through the parking garage, witnessed Mom trying to block my escape, heard Roderick shouting threats that no amount of PR could spin as family concern. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Lottery winner's family attempts murder. From generosity to greed, a family's dark turn, the dark side of sudden wealth. The same news outlets that had celebrated our story 6 months earlier now dissected every detail of my family's transformation. The police arrested them that day. All of them. Roderick was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and making terroristic threats. Randy faced similar charges, plus fraud for the cryptocurrency scam he'd been running. Patty was charged as an accessory after her tearful confession revealed she'd helped coordinate my surveillance. Mom was charged with conspiracy and attempted unlawful imprisonment. The hired killer, a man named Tony Washington who specialized in making people disappear for debt collectors, was arrested at his apartment with a file containing my daily schedule, photos of my apartment, and a down payment of $25,000 from Randy. As I sat in Detective Moore's office, giving my final statement, he shook his head in amazement. In 20 years of police work, I've never seen a family turn this completely against one of their own, he said. They really were going to have you killed over money they'd already spent. The worst part, I told him, is that if they'd just been grateful for what they had, they'd still be millionaires. They could have lived comfortably forever. Instead, they'll be living in prison for the next decade. The trials were media circuses. Roderick tried to claim he was being blackmailed by loan sharks and had no choice. Randy insisted the murder plot was just an elaborate bluff to scare me into compliance. Patty cried and apologized, claiming she never thought they'd really hurt me. Mom maintained that everything she did was to protect her family. None of it mattered. The evidence was overwhelming, the recordings were clear, and the jury saw exactly what I'd seen. People who'd chosen greed over love, money over morality, entitlement over gratitude. Roderick got 15 years. Randy got 12. Mom got 8. Patty, who cooperated fully and showed genuine remorse, got 3 years probation and community service. But the real justice came from watching their perfect lottery family image crumble on national television. Every interview they'd given about gratitude and family values was replayed alongside footage of them hunting me in a parking garage. Every photo of them in designer clothes was contrasted with their mugshots. The world saw them exactly as they were. People who'd been given everything and decided it wasn't enough. 6 months later, I sat in my new apartment in a city 3,000 miles away, watching the sunset through floor-to-ceiling windows I'd finally felt safe enough to enjoy. The apartment was nice. Not extravagant, just comfortable. I'd learned the difference between having enough and needing everything. The money I'd kept for myself had grown through careful investments. I'd started a foundation for lottery winners and people who'd come into sudden wealth, helping them navigate the psychological challenges that came with life-changing money. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd become an expert in something I'd tried so hard to avoid. Denise called every few days to check on me. "Any regrets?" she asked during one conversation. "About giving them the money? No. About trusting them after the warning signs started showing?" Every day. The foundation work seems to be helping people avoid your situation. I looked at the stack of letters on my desk. People thanking me for helping them set boundaries with family members, for teaching them the difference between generosity and enabling, for showing them that saying no to loved ones sometimes means saying yes to survival. "Turns out my story has a happy ending after all," I said. "Just not the one I expected." The trial had revealed everything. Roderick had run through his $5 million in gambling and failed business ventures within 4 months. Randy had lost his money in get-rich-quick schemes and cryptocurrency crashes. Even Mom had spent lavishly on a lifestyle she couldn't maintain, convinced that her lottery daughter would always be there to refill the well. They'd all learned the same hard lesson. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. And when it revealed greed, entitlement, and a willingness to murder family for financial gain, it had shown me exactly who I was dealing with. Sometimes people ask if I miss my family. The truth is, I miss the family I thought I had. The people who raised me, supported me, loved me unconditionally. But those people disappeared the moment money entered the equation. What I don't miss are the people they became. Strangers wearing familiar faces, willing to destroy everything good in their lives for the promise of everything they thought they deserved. I kept one photo from our old life together. All of us at a family barbecue the summer before I won the lottery. We're laughing at something Roderick said, Mom's arm around my shoulders, Patty and Randy making silly faces at the camera. We look happy. We look like people who loved each other. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd never bought that lottery ticket. Would we still be that family? Would love have been enough? But then I remember, real love doesn't come with a price tag. Real family doesn't require payment plans. And real gratitude doesn't turn into murder plots when the money stops flowing. I survived because I learned the most important lesson money can teach. You can't buy character, but sudden wealth will definitely reveal its absence. My family chose money over me. I chose survival over sentiment. And for the first time in months, I was finally free to discover who I really was when I wasn't trying to be everyone else's salvation. Every now and then I catch myself wondering if I overreacted. Then I remember everything they put me through and think, nope, they had it coming. What's your take?